Everybody good?
Morning.
All right, fire away.
Coach Longo, I want to talk to you about the running game, and Mac talked to you about kind of some struggles, first and second down, some negative run plays. I was wondering what you think the issues is, how you fix it, concerns you saw. The run game.
Run game wise, I think anytime, and I told our all line and our whole offenses last week, and I said it on Sunday, when we run the football, whether we run it 50 times or 10, it needs to be efficient. And that's probably my biggest disappointment right now, is that we're not more efficient, more consistent. So we pop one for 30, we pop one for 40, we pop one for 20, and then we have our 1 yard gain and our 0 yard gain. So 2 weeks ago, it was the majority of the issues were in the backfield, and this week that's not the case. The runs that did not pop this week, they were more about up front. This was a front that moved a lot, and they gave us some issues they pressured the entire time. This is the most pressure we've seen on base downs from the team maybe in 2 years. And so we knew it was going to be a challenge. We also knew they were going to have 7, sometimes 8 in the box. We knew it was going to be tough to run the ball this week. We wanted to be a little bit more efficient with it. But I will point out, this is very similar to kind of like the 2020 year when we ran the ball for 550 against Miami, and we threw the ball for 550 against Wake. Those were 2 games that the defense was obsessive about defending one end of the offense over the other. And when you take what they give you, which is what we really want to do, it doesn't upset me in a game like this, because this game is very similar to the way it was at Wake a few years ago. They had 7 in the box, sometimes 8. They gave up a lot of grass. They cut a lot of people loose. They covered with fewer people. They gave us a lot of things in the passing game, and then that's why the passing game was as effective as it was. We could keep banging our head against the wall to run the ball when they have a stacked box, or we can take what they give us, and that's what we do. We ran the ball less this weekend because of what they did defensively, but I still, when we do run it, our play right now is to just be more efficient when we do run the football, regardless of how much it is.
You spoke about paring down the running back rotation. How did that go during the game?
We handled it the way we wanted to. Coach Porter had it. It was a majority. I'd say we majored in Caleb and Omarion, and then we utilized DJ and George in some situational areas. George really didn't play until later in the game. He was earmarked for a few plays. We didn't get to those plays. DJ played a little bit more than we had planned. Not that that's an issue, but we were in some third down situations, and he's been the third down guy. He's not solely the third down guy, but he has been that guy, and he did a fantastic job. For a running back to be as impactful in a game without running it, as DJ was on Saturday, he really helped our football team with his pass protection, the things that he did in that aspect of the game. And so, got to swing out of the backfield and all that stuff. So, he did not carry the ball, which is what most running backs do, when they're out there, but he was as impactful as he could be away from the football. So we were really happy, and I think that's DJ's way of saying, I want to be out there and I'm going to contribute, make an impact when I'm there. So the 3 of those guys did a good job. We have to keep working as an entire unit to improve the run game.
Coach, you talked about DJ playing on third down. He picked up some big blitzes coming in. With Virginia Tech stacking the box like that, was that a point of emphasis this past week?
Well, it was. We get our back out a bunch, but there are times that we need to ask him to step up and protect. DJ, as I said, a week or 2 ago, has replaced British in that role of being the one that is the veteran, the one that is the most well-rounded in terms of he can catch the football, he can run the football, and he may be our best pass protector right now. And so, and he'll stick his nose in there and block anybody. He doesn't care, and he does a good job of it. And so that is really the role that British held. So losing British, we thought we might lose that constant, that stable guy and we haven't. DJ has stepped in, and so we miss British, but DJ's at least stepped in and said, hey, I can do this job too, and he helped our football team on Saturday without question.
Phil, when Matt was talking about the uptick in tight end production this season, he said he gave major props to John Lilly, but he also said that he also gave you a shout out for listening. Was there like a moment of truth in the offseason where he said, okay, we have to get the tight ends more involved because these are two talented guys?
No, and the truth is, somebody texted me, a former tight end texted me, and he was happy to see, because we utilized him in the past, and my response was, I said, we use him when we have him. Right? We haven't had the tight end depth that we have right now. Right? Last year, John Copenhaver was a guy that was developing, but he wasn't. And Kamari, he was a year ago. Kamari's a year better now. And Bryson wasn't completely established. We started heating him up towards the end. This is the first time since I've been here that we've had 3 fairly prolific tight ends for the position and 3 healthy tight ends. They all kind of have their strength. I don't think that they have weaknesses. They have stronger areas than other areas. So I really don't have to know who's out there to call the play. Do we earmark some things for Bryson Nesbitt? Yes, but right now at the tight end spot, I've got Kamari in mind for a couple and John in mind for a couple, and there's never going to be a key or a tendency with the 3 tight ends. Hey, when John's in, they're running the ball. Hey, when Kamari's in, we're throwing play action. Hey, when Nesbitt's in, we're throwing down the field. You would think that, but it's been pretty balanced, and so it's a tribute to those 3. I think we try in this offense to use whatever weapons we have. And right now, we have legitimate weapons at tight end, and I use it. If they weren't playing very well, the tight ends would not be very prevalent in the offense. And that's really, it's dictated by the talent base.
And with Miami, are you talking to the offense basically in a similar way as to before the Notre Dame game, where it's, look, this defense has 4- and 5-star players pretty much everywhere?
I know we try to respect everybody that we play, obviously. Each week you look at who you're playing, what are their major strengths, what do they take away the most, what do they do a good job of taking away. And then after that, because I think to look at their strengths first is to say, okay, who do we have to, are there any game changers out there that we know we have to be aware of? Because just to run the basic play with them out there, he's a game changer. And if we don't account for him, chip him, or double team him, or occupy him somehow, or run away from him, whatever we have to do, throw away from him, you identify those guys first so we're not planning an attack without having any idea where their strengths are from a personnel standpoint. And then when that's done, then we go into working on our matchups, whether it's in the run game, screen game, or pass game. But now we're trying to find the weaknesses so that we can ID those and make sure we get our best people on their worst people. And that's really the process every week. So really the opponent doesn't change what we say or what we do. Just the approach is the same. I think sometimes you find more game changers with some teams than others. Sometimes you find more weaknesses with some teams than others. There aren't many with Miami. They are very talented. It's a fast football team. They cover ground really, really well. They play hard. I think they are very, very athletic and very long and rangy. And so it's definitely for everybody, receiver right on down to the O-line. I think it's going to be a huge athletic challenge this week.
Scoring more touchdowns in the red zone was a point of emphasis in the offseason. You spoke about it with us in the summer. Mac talked about it a lot in spring and summer. He said a few minutes ago that because you guys made it such a point of emphasis is one of the reasons it's improved. How much does Drake's ability to see everything and your use of the tight ends also has enhanced the red zone efficiency?
So the best thing about this locker room and this team, because of the character base that we have, is when you emphasize something to these guys, we usually get better. And I tell them that. I said, if we're not doing a lot wrong, we have 1 or 2 things to get better at, we can focus in on getting better at those. Typically, that's where the focus goes, and you get there's high energy and mental focus on trying to get better at what we're doing. These guys really honestly ask questions and want to know what we're not doing well. And that's why I think we get better every week, because we keep taking the weakest link and moving it forward. And so we're a better team, both mentally and physically, each week that we're done with a week of preparations. Having said that, we emphasize red zone in the off season. That was one of that, and minimizing sacks, right? And you look at what we're doing right now. We didn't give a sack up in this last game, and I think we have 7 on the season. So that has been a tremendous improvement. The red zone has been a tremendous improvement. If I was going to really identify why we're doing better in the red zone right now, I'd like to tell you it's scheme. I'd like to tell you it's all of these skilled players that we have. But the biggest reason we're better in the red zone is you cannot hide the offensive line in the red zone. You can't hide the offensive line on the goal line. And so those guys have gotten much better, particularly pass protection in the red zone. So it's given us an opportunity to do some other things. And then I don't know if it's an added advantage that we have Drake, because Sam was a pretty good weapon as a quarterback in the red zone as well. So I feel like we have the same thing. They're different athletes. We do a lot of the same things with Drake that we did with Sam. Probably, as I've said numerous times, Sam, we hit things vertically and more downhill because of his strength and his aggressiveness. And we can do more on the perimeter with Drake. But to have that added factor in the red zone of being able to run your quarterback or move your quarterback is always helpful in the red zone because of how limited you are field-wise. But I think the single biggest improvement is up front, and that has changed, our success rate in the red zone and on fourth down.
Phil, is it time to change your message to Drake about not jumping? I'm sure you guys have been telling him you don't have to jump as much as you don't have to leap for the end zone, and he keeps doing it. Do you have to? Or you're like, all right, I got to try a new approach here to.
So I've now recruited mom and dad, right? And I think Coach strategically used the word we don't want to be selfish, right? And it's selfish in that let's be smart, because we want to be able to get up after these jumps and after these plays and be able to help the team on the next play, and the next day, and the next game. But now I'm on the phone with mom and dad, and I'm recruiting their help to try and quell Drake. These guys are competitors, man. It was the problem with Sam too, and what I'm trying to get him to realize is he is a great distributor of the football, and we have a lot of weapons to distribute the ball to. And the quarterback can be a weapon in the offense, and they always have been. We've had some really immobile guys in the past, and they were the best distributors because they couldn't run it all. You almost want to just chain him back there and just not let him loose unless it's a planned run or the play breaks down. And that's really when we want his legs to be a weapon. We have a planned quarterback run. Now, I will say there are a lot of plays that we have that I call pass draws. So they are legitimate pass plays, and we are pass protected. And some of these plays, though, when the defense does a great job covering them, there's an automatic built-in quarterback draw there. And Drake is very aware of what those plays are and when they're going to create some space for him. And he and Sam both have done a terrific job of attacking plays downhill. And then it winds up looking like a draw or a scramble, and really it's a little bit more by design. And then there's other plays that we're doing a lot of things over the middle, or running some short stuff or some quick hitters. Those are not built-in draw plays for the quarterback, because defenders are still there 5, 6, 8 yards around the line of scrimmage, and they can track the QB. And those are the plays where you see Drake throwing it away if we're not completing one of the quick hitters. So I think we've done a good job there of knowing when to utilize our legs. I just want him to be smarter and stay healthy. So now we're down to, look, if you're near the goal line and you need it to win the game, do whatever you want as long as you can secure the football, right? The other thing that makes me nervous when you jump is very few people naturally hold the ball up against their body in a secure position when you jump. When you jump, you need momentum. When you jump, your arms and your legs tend to flare out, and that means the ball is away from your body. And that's as much, we saw that with Javonte Williams a couple years ago in the Duke game. And it's hard to do that. So goal line, got to win the game. Maybe in the championship, it's down to like next to nothing. We don't want to lose or leave the floor anymore. So I should save that for basketball. So hopefully he'll hear me this week.
He says that's his instinct, though. He has to fight the instinct. So how do you, as a coach, help a guy fight his instinct?
Yeah, that is the built-in quarterback excuse around the country. It is.
Oh, is it?
Like And they are, they're ultimate competitors, they are. And they want to go for what I showed them, and joking aside, what we said was, look, what are you gaining by jumping? You're taking hits, okay, to your lower body. You're landing on your upper body. Here, broken collarbone, dislocated shoulder, concussion, neck issue, potential of fumbling the football. That's what you got on one side, on the negative side of leaping and trying to go over people. And then it also, people know down in the red zone, this cat's going to jump. They're going to take shots on him. And so what are you getting on the positive side? Another yard, another 2 yards? In one case, the first time we saw him do that, it was a touchdown. Right, but outside of that, the other 2 times that he jumped, we're not gaining much at it. Slide, go down, run out of bounds, get on the ground. That way you're healthy enough to execute the next play. I think that that's going to be enough of a conversation that we shouldn't have this problem anymore.
Phil, Miami gave up, I think, 3 touchdowns with over 65 yards passing against Middle Tennessee State. When you face an opponent where something like that happens, do they generally just stick to what they do and just try and go better, or do you see normally a lot of different tweaks to, changing in their coverage?
I would say when you cut people loose like that defensively, whether it's a run play or, you're not, there's no CRC on the screen or there's just poor coverage on a play, especially when you have 2 weeks. You go back and usually when you cut something loose like that, somebody's making a mistake. Somebody's not techniquing it the right way. They don't have their eyes in the right place. They're not aligned properly. They get their eyes on some, on the candy in the play. Whatever the issue is, when you have big, wide open plays like that, it's mistake driven. Sound good X and O football, you typically don't have those type of plays. So for me, and I can't speak for Miami, but I would think, they're good at what they do what they do. Kevin Steele is an outstanding defensive coordinator. I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. I've coached against him before, and he's, they're not going to go, they're not putting in a new package here for a couple of these plays. What they're going to do is they're going to correct. I don't expect to get the same advantage when we play. They're not about, a good coaching staff, and they are not about to give up the same stuff that they just gave up against the previous team, particularly when they have a week to go back to fundamentals and teach some of the things that maybe they didn't do so well on those plays. And again, I can't speak for them, but I don't know that, let me say this, one of the most common things you do is look at what everybody else had success with against certain defenses. And I'm always careful though, I want to run what we do. I don't care what other people are doing. I don't think that watching the other games is a bad reference. But typically when you have 2 and 3 teams that are attacking a defense and they're winning and they have success on certain looks, it's going to be harder as the season goes on to continue beating them with the same stuff, because a good coaching staff is going to correct that and get it right so that it doesn't keep happening. So, you use things as a reference and as a resource, and then you weigh out whether or not you want to attack them in the same way or you don't. And we're doing the same thing with Miami, just like we do with everybody else.
What stands out personnel-wise or scheme-wise from what Miami likes to do? You look at their tape.
Well, they're playing 8, 9, 10, 12 guys on the defensive line. They have a lot of people that they play on the defensive line. There's a number of transfers that are in that are new faces that we have not played against in the past. So they're super deep up front. They're long, they're rangy, they're athletic, as I said earlier. And so it is maybe the biggest athletic challenge that we've had. And Notre Dame was certainly the best we had seen up to this point. I think Miami will be, they'll be as good. I think they'll be as athletic. And they do a good job of getting off blocks. And so finishing for our line, both in protection and in the run game, will be a big part of this week. And then we've got to do a good job when we work to the second level, because they do run. So the safeties can run. Zero is a really good player. The linebackers run and pursue. And so we'll have to control the line of scrimmage, but we'll have to do a good job on second level blocks in the run game with those guys, because they move so well.
Phil, what is the balancing act? I don't know if that's the right way to say it, the art of when you go for the trick play like you did with the double pass? Like, I mean, for you as a coordinator, like, are you trying to plot these things out? Like, I don't want to use that until this game. Like, what is that process like for you in terms of like when you show it? Because like Mac was saying, I guess you're likely not to do it again.
That's not a play you run twice in 1 year, so you like to hit that stuff, and I did hear what Coach said. I agree 100%. I think the throw from Drake, so we ran that play this week in preparation for this past game, and it was there. Obviously, I think Drake's still running if we reach him. But I do think it started with the throw that was a little bit off. Kobe did a great job as a receiver, so he snagged it without a big problem. But all week we probably ran that thing from the first rep until now, until Friday when we ran through it in our run through. It went perfectly just about every time. So it was just one of those things our kids took to. We executed well, high confidence in it at every position. And obviously the key was, can Drake get the ball there and can Kobe get it back? And when I mean the two of them nailed it all week, there was no concern at all. I was actually surprised that we skipped it a little short because I did not expect it. And I thought it set up nicely. And then there was a stoppage. I forget why. I don't know if they called the timeout or something happened, but there was a stoppage in the clock. And so we actually got to pull them over and talk about it on the sideline. That wasn't the plan. We were going to run it in this, the course of a drive. And so it's unfortunate we had 10 guys hit it, and we just underthrew it a little bit. And Kobe will get another chance next year, so we'll see. We'll see when the time comes.
Is that list like the trick play list? I don't know what you call it, but is it a long list? Or are there 20 plays that you're like, all right?
Yeah, we call them exotics, and there's a library of them. Some we've carried before, some are new for this year. Periodically through the year, we practice them so that they're kind of fresh in our mind. We do tend to run a few of them a few weeks before. You're going to get one shot, so these plays are typically all or nothing shots. You'll want to call it in a game where it really can't hurt you in the process of a drive. There's just a right time. It's a field during the game. There's just a right time to do it. We did know we wanted to run that one around midfield, right? That play we've had a lot of success with in the past. It's gone for 70, 60, 50, so we wanted to do it at midfield. We thought that was the best time to run it against this team. And, again, if we had hit it, there was no one there. Drake had 4 personal protectors all the way down to the goal line, and it is what it is. It's all or nothing when you call it, and that's just how it wound up.
All right. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it.
See y'all.